Hi, I'm Olaf.
You're like too much taller than me.
Well,
What if I just film with it slightly crooked?
wow, you're ridiculous.
Okay, I'll do an intro.
Okay.
So you don't feel weird.
Thank you.
Oh my god. Did you close the door all the way?
Nope.
This is like filming a collab. Except for you're just you. Okay.
Okay.
Hello the people. This is my channel. I talk about Minerva. If you don't know about Minerva, look at a video. Otherwise, welcome. Today, we're going to be talking about the social sciences with this loser who studies them.
That is correct.
And who are you?
I'm Olaf. I am a loser. and and I study social sciences. The official concentration I study is designing societies. I've been focused more so on political science. But I've also taken a bunch of courses in other colleges, so I'll be able to compare.
How I did this when I talked about my major was that I just went through the courses that I've taken.
I
talked
see.
about what actually happened in them.
Okay.
How many
There's
SS
so
concentration courses have you done?
Concentration.
Yeah.
4.
That's the same amount of H concentration that I have done.
Sick.
Nice.
Nice.
I have also taken SS 162. Is that the one you did?
Yeah.
Okay. So we can talk about that first.
Sure.
What did you think of personal and social motivation?
Personal and social motivation.
Insert screenshot here of the name of the course.
I thought that the topic was pretty interesting, so I was intrigued by it before I started taking the course. And I thought that generally the readings were pretty fun and interesting. They tended to be like kind of low-key and introduce a topic that was new for me and interesting as well. The class itself I didn't find particularly useful.
So the readings were more useful?
Yeah.
So what do you feel like you took away from the class though?
I feel like I did take away some of the concepts around like motivation and habit formation and more kind of how that happens.
Yeah.
And how you can try to accomplish it within yourself.
Same.
So I did think that that was pretty useful. And also, I do remember a lot from like the principles of persuasion that we had to learn. Not enough to like use them myself.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if I would because it seems pretty shady.
Unethical.
Yeah.
Oh
but
my God.
Kind of enough to like somewhat recognize it if it's happening in ads or something.
So
Yeah.
how to like motivate yourself to do something in theory,
In theory.
not necessarily in practice.
Nuh-uh.
So sort of the ways to build up a habit. And then how to recognize if someone is trying to manipulate you in order to persuade you.
Yeah.
Persuade you.
Yeah, I think those are the things.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely still think about like a few of the things that I did for the assignment on how on building a habit. Like, because I tried to make myself start doing yoga. And so now I'm in Taiwan and I'm like, I should start doing yoga again. And I'm like, how did I make this happen?
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, I don't think about it at all.
Yeah, I feel like the concepts were pretty interesting, but
Kind of like narrow
yeah,
in their applicability.
yeah, they're pretty narrow, and I didn't feel like they could be broader if the class made those connections for you or helped you make those connections, and I didn't feel like
That
they really
happened?
achieved
Okay.
anything.
Which econ class did you take?
I took SS 164. I don't remember what it's called. Please give me a screenshot.
Here.
In practice, it was developmental economics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you cover? What was the topic?
We covered a whole bunch of different areas that were covered in developmental economics, basically.
Wow.
So,
For example.
for example, oh, now I need to remember stuff.
Just tell us what the syllabus is.
Yeah, I should have looked at all of the syllabi before coming here.
You can't use too much exact wording though, because then Minerva might get angry
I see.
for giving away their syllabi.
Yeah.
Which we are not allowed to do.
We talked about some health interventions. We talked about education. We talked about
And then, like, what were the economics that you connected to the thing?
For example, with education, I feel like I remember we talked about like how that improves one's outcomes afterwards.
So, like, macroeconomics.
Yeah, it was pretty basic on the economic side. I've heard that the other two economics courses are much heavier towards the economic side. This felt, I think am I allowed to use the phrasing? I mean, it's a whole subfield, so I'm sure I'm allowed to. It was often described as political economy. So it was a lot also about political institutions, policy, things like this. So we talked about microfinance. Yeah, so it was heavier also towards the political side, which made it more interesting to me, but it skimmed a bunch of topics, but it didn't necessarily tend to dive deep into any of them.
Okay. And politics?
Yeah, 2 politics.
Constitutions?
Constitutions.
This
SS 166.
Yeah.
Designing Constitutions. I know that one.
Is that the whole name?
That is the whole name.
Nice.
Yes. And that one I personally really enjoyed.
Did you design a constitution?
We did design a constitution, actually.
Wow. It does what it says it does.
Yeah. For our final project, which are these end of semester huge projects that you usually do by yourself, we instead had the final project with our entire class as a group project, which was frightening. And we designed the constitution for a hypothetical post-war Syria. It was pretty fun and interesting. And in general, I mean, I'm a political science nerd, and like I find it interesting to like think about how political institutions are set up and also how they then deliver on policy outcomes. So for me, the class was really interesting in kind of setting a theoretical foundation that I hadn't learned about too much before.
Did you read many constitutions?
I mean, we tended not to read the whole constitution.
Okay.
Luckily. So the first half of the class was more broader kind of constitutional design elements and like key tensions within constitutions, so like broadly.
Legislative versus executive powers and stuff
Yes,
like that.
exactly.
Okay.
So like what types of legislature are there? What are the advantages of each presidential versus parliamentary systems? And broadly along the 3 branches of government. So like judicial, executive, legislative. But then some elements that distinguish between those different types and what that usually means for governmental performance. And then the second half of the class was looking more at contextual factors within countries and how that influenced their constitution or whatever. So in that case, we would usually get a reading about a constitution. We would have the constitution as a reading, but usually either we would pull out key articles for pre-class work, or it would tell us what articles to focus on that were relevant for the reading. So you weren't just reading a 100-page document, luckily.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds very applied indeed.
Yeah, I really liked the course.
Cool.
It was one of my favorites at Minerva.
And then you did 156.
Yes,
which
156.
Is world political systems?
In practice?
Something like that?
That's my guess. Yeah, that one...
So that one's supposed to be more analytical?
Yeah, this one is from a while ago, so I'm trying to remember everything.
Did you take this in India?
Yeah, so Hyderabad.
Long time ago?
Long time ago. From what I recall, it brought in a lot of complex systems concepts. The creator of the course also taught complex systems, so he married a lot of those concepts, and it tended to be very pre-class work heavy, and there would almost always be case studies that you would kind of write up about.
This one's more about like looking at what's happening in politics and why, or?
Yeah, it was a comparative politics course.
Okay.
So usually one group of people would get for pre-class work one particular country, and another group would have another country that had 2 different approaches to whatever element we were talking about.
Okay.
Say you're talking about corruption, and you're looking at different countries and how corruption is happening in that country, or like why or why not, and then you talk about it in class.
So comparative on lots of different things, corruption.
Yeah. In that class, I also felt like we covered a lot of different bases, not necessarily in a whole lot of depth, but it was also because it was more about the kind of analytical tools that you were using throughout the course.
Yeah, that's very similar to how I felt about comparative history. I wrote other questions, which I'm now going to locate. I'm wondering, like, what's your favorite assignment that you've done in a concentration course? Just to give an example of what you actually do.
Sure. Assignment in terms of what I produced, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Not like what the prompt was, but
Yeah.
like what you did.
Okay, so for the developmental economics course, the final project was to basically pick one topic area that you felt could potentially be promising for developmental economics and justify why, and develop a small research proposal around how more could be understood about whether it's promising or not. And I chose cultural change, and so I talked a bunch about like how culture matters to development, and it was a really fun assignment to write.
Wow, culture.
Culture.
Fun.
We live in a society.
We live in a society. Have you done tutorials?
I am currently in week 2 of both of my SS tutorials.
Okay, what are the general topics?
So one is complex systems and international development, and the other is nationalism and globalization.
So like very much building upon the two politics classes more so?
The complex systems and international development seems to be building most on developmental economics.
Okay.
And the nationalism and globalization is not necessarily building on any of them, I don't feel.
Not directly.
No, not directly. So it's more digging into a topic that's relevant in political science. But because of the makeup of the class, we're also getting a bunch of other angles like history and economics and stuff.
What would you say are the major pros and cons of studying this here as opposed to doing like a conventional political science degree?
Okay, cons. I feel like you generally get less depth than you would in other political science programs. And I feel like all of the concentration courses have their own angle that they're trying to deliver on.
Yeah.
But because of that, none of them seem to be like just this is political science, this is how it works. And so because of that, I don't know if I right now would have the required knowledge to do something within political science or something, to become a political analyst or what have you. As in, I don't know if I know all of the literature that people assume you would know if you studied political science.
Yeah.
If you don't like the angles that they're giving you, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
There are 3 political science courses, and that is it. And in general, that's also the case for econ and psychology. And all of these are huge fields, you know? So I feel like a lot of people have their own niches that they're more interested in that they haven't been able to explore within the courses themselves. And so they've often taken it upon themselves to try to do that either through internships or through capstone or through tutorials. I feel like there's a lot of discrepancy between courses in terms of how easy they are. Like, it's very clear that these courses are not designed by the same person, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of uniformity about like how do readings and pre-class work, how easy should a course be, what should people be doing within class. So it feels like each course is like a whole new ballgame each time. There doesn't seem to be a lot of internal consistency within social sciences.
Are there pros?
Pros. What you give up for in depth, you get in breadth.
Yeah.
Especially because there's only so many courses you can do within the area. The upside of that is that you're doing a whole bunch of different courses in other areas. And so, you know, I've taken a good amount of SS courses, but also CS and NS and AH. And I feel like, you know, now I have some background in political philosophy, which can be useful.
Yes.
I know some stuff about ecology, which could be useful. Some CS stuff is also useful in terms of analytical and like statistical knowledge. So that is helpful. What else exists?
Minerva is like very much a liberal arts education.
Yeah.
And that overall, it's not trying to make you an expert.
Yeah.
It's just trying
for sure.
to make you very like well-rounded.
Yeah.
And a critical thinker.
Yeah, that's what it feels like for sure. I also feel like if you know what you want, you can get a lot of that through your capstone.
Do you want to tell us about your capstone?
Sure. My capstone is I am analyzing and comparing solutions to political polarization. And in order to do that, I'm developing a framework that can adequately compare between different solutions that are aimed at political problems. Words.
Politics.
Yes. Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. I enjoy the project. I'm able to bring in a lot of these other areas.
Yeah,
like
philosophy.
Political philosophy. I brought in ecology.
You did?
I did.
Wow.
Yes. I've brought in some psych. I've brought in economics.
Wow.
So
Olaf is achieving.
I am bringing in other fields. Yes. Yeah, and I feel like if you know what you want, even if you can't necessarily get it through the courses, I mean, Minerva is pretty unique in the amount of time that it lets you work on capstone. Like, it's bigger than a normal bachelor's thesis, at least in the Netherlands. I compared notes over the break, and it's like 1.5 times as big, which is fairly significant, and it means that you can get a lot more done and cover a lot more ground if you have a topic that you're interested in.
So you can get the depth, but
yeah,
capstone is the main opportunity.
Yeah,
because the other thing is, like, tutorials, not everyone gets lucky and gets tutorials that are like their super niche interest.
Exactly. Yeah, that's very accurate. I have 2 tutorials that I'm loosely interested in, one more so than the other, but neither are exactly focused on my area of interest. Yeah.
Okay, so you've talked about all the courses having agendas. How would you like describe the general like agenda of the social sciences college?
I think in general, in designing societies, they like the idea that we live in a society and
it's complex.
Everything is complicated, complex even, and everything makes no sense. And so they're just picking some stuff that you can try to use in the real world.
Everyone's just out here going wild.
Exactly.
Okay, good message. From the social sciences college at Minerva.
Yep, that is what I've learned.
Yes. Do you have anything else to say to the people?
No.